I can certainly remember the moment. I was 7 or 8, I was still at primary school, and I was standing up on the road up above our house and just thinking about population growth. I don't know how I had come to hear about it, whether my parents had talked about it or can't have come up at school, I wouldn't have thought. But being incredibly worried about what was going to happen to the world. I don't know whether I knew the word exponential, but I knew that population growth was growing in an ever-increasing fashion, and I was just very worried about what was going to happen in the future. So that's when I began to be concerned about it, and I don't think I ever stopped being concerned about it. Well, without a sustainable population, we're very unlikely to keep our natural environment in any state in which human beings can happily live. And indeed, it's not just about human beings, it's about all the other species that we share the world with. And the main cause of extinction, species loss of biodiversity, is loss of habitat, which is humans taking over land and other resources for food production, housing, grazing, domesticated animals. So that's a real concern, that it's not that the economy exists, in one spot and the environment over there. The economy exists within the environment. And if we trash the environment, well, we're trashing the human habitat. But it's not just the natural environment. There's the built urban and social environment that everywhere is under stress from population growth. We're seeing this in the major cities in Australia with traffic congestion, housing that's way out of reach of most of our children and grandchildren. It's a real concern for many Australians. Flatlining wages, loss of a sense of community, stress on families. Altogether, it's like a runaway train, and it's all going much too fast. In late 2017, the Australian Population Research Institute, that's TAPRI, commissioned a survey of attitudes to population growth, attitudes to immigration, and we also included a question about whether people who advocated for lower immigration were sometimes thought of as racists. Indeed, we asked people whether they'd ever themselves felt reluctant to talk about immigration with workmates, friends, wider family members, and quite a lot of people said yes, they did feel reluctant to. So that got quite a lot of media coverage. SBS TV, The Australian, for example, Judith Sloan and Chris Mitchell have written about it, and the Herald Sun was very happy to publish an opinion piece. So I think this is a bit of a push forward, that the barrier of being traduced as a racist is a real inhibition. There are a number of things which hold back open debate on immigration and population policy. One is the bipartisan advocacy for high immigration from both Labor and the coalition. The fact of bipartisanship means it's not a mainstream political issue, so the journalists don't write about it. And then there are all the vested interests in growth, people who sell into the domestic market. So there are fairly strong forces that are pushing for silent growth, as it were, growth that we don't talk about. But on the other side, there are members of the public who are concerned about it, but fearful of being slurred as racists if they raise their voices. And I do hope that the TAPRI survey has done a little bit to make that sort of clear, or clearer, so that people can be a bit more confident that they can speak about these matters and not have their reputation shredded. Well, I've been a member since 1988, back in the days when it was called Australians for an Ecologically Sustainable Population. And as soon as I heard that it existed, I thought, well, that's an organisation that I really want to belong to. So I guess I've been a member for 30 years, is it? I'm doing the arithmetic properly. I didn't take very long to think about it. I was very proud and gratified to be asked, and of course very pleased to continue my association with SPA, perhaps in a more strongly involved way, but certainly that was a very happy moment. Well, I think the main one is being a background source of submissions to government inquiries and a point of contact for media or politicians who really want to know more about the other side. And it's really good that SPA is there as a go-to place. And then there are the conferences. The one I'm thinking of particularly is the FENA conference on a stable population for Australia, which was held in the Academy of Science Shine Dome in Canberra in 2013. So those things are really important. But also there's the regular newsletter and an e-newsletter that comes out a lot more frequently, which is a very good way to keep members informed. And I find that from the various publications of SPA, I often find sources that I otherwise wouldn't have known about, which I can use for my research. So I personally find that helpful. But I think that the main role that SPA plays, and plays very well, is to be an alternative voice in a culture which for the 30 years and more has been dominated by the idea that population growth is good and is going to make us all rich, and if you're against it there must be something funny and rather nasty about you. But SPA is definitely not nasty and only funny when they make jokes. Well, SPA is unique. It is not a political organisation. It is very much concerned with population reform and with the development of a decent population policy for Australia. So if there are Australians who are concerned about these matters but don't want to join a political party, SPA is an excellent movement for them to sign up to be part of, to appreciate the newsletter, the e-newsletter and the other newsletter, to attend meetings in their states, because there's a branch in every state, and to be involved to the extent that they would like to be involved. For some people whose lives are busy and they have a lot of preoccupations, maybe just paying their subscription and reading the newsletter is all they can manage at the moment, but that doesn't mean that the time wouldn't come when they could put more energy into it. But it's an excellent vehicle full of really nice people. I can vouch for that.